Hi, welcome to the Mike Ears Mind podcast. I'm your host, Stephen Rulo. And before we get started with this episode, I just wanted to let the fans know that we have merch. Yes, we do. We have merchandise. We have shirts. We have hats. We have hoodies. We have mugs. And we're working on actually socks. So, yes, if you're interested in buying anything My Curious Mind, all those proceeds go towards the podcast to help the podcast grow. You can check them all out on our website that will link in the bio. Also, you have the opportunity to get memberships through the website. What memberships do is that one, it helps the show grow, but two, it gives you perks on special episodes, free merch, anything My Curious Mind, you will be the first one to know through that memberships. Speaking of memberships, I want to give shout outs of members of the month, Jacob and Benjamin Sykes and RJ Durham. They bought memberships, working on getting their free shirts and their free merch, and they have all the latest episodes without delay. Finally, if you want to be on the show, please make sure that you email us at mycuriousmindpod@gmail.com. And finally, if you're on Spotify, make sure you hit that follow button to keep up to date to all things My Curious Mind. Without further ado, enjoy the episode. We are live. How you doing, man?
Man, we are live.
We are, even though we've been live for the last 20 minutes, just not pressed play yet. But
Yeah, sometimes it's just good to laugh.
Yeah. You are.
I am on.
There you go. Yep, you're good. I see you.
Yeah. It's like those people that they never public speak, and then they feel like they got to start tapping on the microphone like nonstop. They're just like, "Is this on?" Even though they did a sound check like 2 minutes ago.
It's literally like before everybody was here, we made sure the microphone was on.
And then they're like, "It's not on," and you're like, "We can all hear you." It's definitely on. But this is on.
I believe so. If not, there'd be a lot of editing.
It's okay. I tapped it. We're good.
Oh man, how in the heck are you? It's been a while.
It's been a few minutes. Yeah. We had coffee, you and I, but probably 2 months ago, 3 months ago.
Yeah.
Up in the Jayville.
Yeah.
That's before you started your teaching gig.
It is. Yeah, I was still slinging pallets with forklifts.
Did you have teaching on your 2024 bingo card?
No, I just had crazily. I had like, I know I'm supposed to be doing something else, and I'm just gonna keep doing what I'm doing until God opens the door. I know it's very like cliche to say, like until God opens the door.
Yeah.
And then I was asked to be a teacher, and I said no. I said, "You guys, you can't pay me enough money to be a teacher. Like,
Yeah.
I'd make a lot more money now." And then, like, it was weird. I was mowing, and I'm not like a big crier. Like, I just don't do it. I don't know why.
Okay, that's not true. I've known you for a long time. But you can tell the world that.
Anymore, I'm not a big crier.
Okay.
There we go.
All right, there we go.
In the last 3 months, I've became less of a crier. But no,
Yeah.
like I was just like mowing, and then all of a sudden I just started bawling my eyes out. I'm like, what the heck is going on? And like, just felt the words sacrifice and trust, and I was all like, well, now I got to be obedient, even if I don't want to be.
But you didn't hear that word. You just sacrifice and trust.
So
Oh.
sacrifice the money and trust that he's gonna take care of it. He's done it so far. So
Yeah.
now there's been some tight windows. So like, God, I'd like to trust you a little bit more with a little bit more finances in the bank account. But we've made it this far. So.
It's funny you say that because like I can't tell you how many things in my life that turned out to be really great things that I said no to. I'm like, because it's funny. Like people are funny, man. Like people will always have like an opinion on what you should do, right?
Yeah.
Like what you should do with your time, what you should do with your abilities, talents, call it whatever, what you should do with your money. You should like they should on you, right? They're like they just should all over you. And so like it's like, would you quit shitting on me? But like, people like you should do this or you should consider this. inevitably I'm always like, no, like I don't want to, like and it's really me kind of battling me. But like some of the best things that I've ever ended up doing were things that I said, absolutely not. I'm not doing that. I'm not interested. I don't want to do that. And they just never go away. And then you're like, well, maybe. And so your no turns into a maybe. And then you're just like, you know what? Let's have a conversation. And then you have a conversation. And you're like, I think I'm going to do that. Like, it doesn't make sense. Yeah, but I think I'm going to do it anyway. You know, like I remember, when I first started off in youth ministry, I mean, like a couple decades ago. That's crazy. But one of my friends was like, hey, come to Ohio. Like I'd been a youth pastor for a while, and we had developed a really cool thing. And he's like, why don't you come to Ohio? I can pay you really well. And I got a job for you. You can take, we need a youth pastor. And I'm like, no, like, I don't want to go. I'm not going to Ohio. I'm staying here. I swear. And then, like, I don't know, a year and a half later, he was like, hey, why don't you come to Texas? I can't pay you. I can't do any of this. And I was like, yes. So I will do that. I'll do that. So, but it ended up being great, parts of it, other parts didn't, but it led to some really cool things. But some of the best things I've ever done have been things that I immediately said no to.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, it's crazy. And I tell my students this because we are a Christian school and I can kind of talk about Christian things, but I just tell them that's always the answer. I've had that like wrote on papers before. Like, I don't know the answer, but the answer is Jesus. And I'm all like, Jesus said it was not the answer.
You're like, don't try to church it up.
Don't do this to me. But I tell them like repeatedly, like, hey, I don't know how I got here. I just know this is where God put me. So even if you don't listen to a thing that I have to say, like, it's got to be obedient in what He's called me to do right now in this season of my life. So hopefully they like the journey as much as I like being a part of the journey, because it's been fun being around kids, even though like that context of like being around kids and you're an adult male is weird to people. Like they make it fun. Like they're very, very funny. Like, and this generation is like everybody's a comedy roaster. They all think they have the next best roast of somebody.
That's that TikTok world, man. Like they'll just throw it out there, and they're quick too. Like, I mean, young people are quick. And not only are they quick, but sometimes there's just no filter there.
Yeah.
And so they're like quick and then throw it out, whereas like we would have thought about things a little bit longer and then thrown it out there. But yeah, they're quick. And like even my son, like he'll say things. He's 15 now, and because I mean I'm still pretty witty at times, but like he'll just like out of nowhere we'll be in a conversation and then he'll just throw the old roast out, and I'm like, man, I'd have just beat you up right now. But it happened so quick, and I think that. But part of that is like these kids, like the pace in which they gather information and content is so fast.
Yeah.
That it's like I'm like, do their minds ever shut off?
No, yeah. And people say it's their attention spans, but I just think it's like, especially in a classroom setting, it's too slow for them. Like,
yeah.
They need it. They need it faster, because that's how they're been brought up to process information, as everything's just so quick and fast.
It is. Yeah, it's fast. Now, like, and the whole world, not just information content. I mean, shoot, even food, air fryer, throw it in the air fryer. Like,
yeah,
no more waiting in the oven. Just air fry that bad boy. So it's like, it's quick. But you're right. But the world moves quick too. And so I think that's part of it, is like you have to be able to process things quickly, but in that, we still have to teach them how to slow down and pause and just think about some things for a minute, because I think that can cause us to not think about, I don't want to use the word consequences, because I think consequences are always tend to be negative.
Yeah.
But I think it's results. What's the results of the things that you just said, good or bad, or what are the results of the actions you just took? Sometimes the result is a really good thing. And sometimes the result is going to be a really negative and probably have some implications beyond that. And so it's like, I think we still have to teach people how to slow down.
Yeah.
I have to do it too, because life is so busy. So it's like, can I take a moment? Can I pause and think about things for a second?
Yeah. I have a little bit of a drive in the morning, and that's kind of my slow down time, even though I'm going 80 miles per hour down the highway. And my brain is processing very slowly at that time.
Are you the leave and get there with, 15, 20 minutes before you have to, or are you the, I'm going to leave and pull in as the bells ring?
As it does. So no, I'm been good at getting there. So school day starts at 8:45. I get there at 8. But dropping my kids off at daycare. I don't know if you ever had you have 3 kids.
I do.
Like two toddlers, man, getting them riled up in the morning, getting them contained and put in their car seats and sent to daycare. And I got to start doing hair, like girls' hair. Like I've never done that before. And so those days, those are about the 8:15 to they can start coming in the building at 8:30. So I guess I technically have to be in my room by 8:30. So
yeah,
those are the harder days.
What's your go-to? The girls' hair. What is your go-to hairstyle?
The straight unicorn.
The straight out the front.
Straight unicorn. Get the hair out the eyes. I've gotten better to where it's like more of a back.
You got to keep the flyers out. You don't want. You got to you got to be able to do a tight ponytail, like. And you're gonna see down there. It's one thing, when they're toddlers, but the older they get, man, you got to be able to make that thing tight. So the girls don't want the flyers sticking out while they're running. Like, you got to be able to make that thing tight. So make sure you keep practicing that.
Well, I practice every day. So my daughter's hair, it's kind of like, it's long, but it's not like it's like a Theo Vaughn. Like I could still work with it up here.
Yeah.
But she has like these sick bangs that go to like her mouth, and she'll like get yogurt in them and start eating them. Like, you're a sicko.
Man, that's part of it, man, kids. And just wait, like, your whole life, hair consumes it, like, everywhere you go, especially, like, I've got 2 girls and a wife, and there's literally hair everywhere. Like, it's in your car, it's in your shirt, it's in your pants, it's like it wrapped around your sock. Like, it's like, you're just like, where did this hair come from, and why is it never ending? So it's like, hair, man, it's just, it's like the never ending battle of like, you're consumed by it. So
and your wife cut hair, so sometimes it might not even be
not even our kids' hair. It's like, whose that? No, I don't know. It's somebody's. So
whose hair did I do today? Oh,
yeah, exactly. Yeah. So it will consume your life. It'll be in every vehicle you have and all the carpet. So luckily you got a vinyl plank floors here, so you just sweep that bad boy out. But
yes. So when you, I think I got the timeline right, but when you started off your kind of your ministry journey, they still had, what's it called, where they sent you to Arizona?
Oh yeah, Master's
Commission. So they don't really do that anymore. So what was that like? So were you fresh out of high school and just went straight to Master's Commission, or was it kind of a process after?
Yeah, so they do have. I think there's still a couple, actually. There's one in Texas, MCUSA. And so basically it was just like, at the time, it's this idea like, hey, we don't really know what we're going to do with our lives, but here's a place where you can kind of spend a year, just kind of growing in your faith and learning how to just love the world and kind of in the world, like real world stuff, like Bible college is, I'm sure it's great. I'd never been, but you mostly at that time you went to a classroom and someone taught you something, and then you graduated, and then they sent you out to do things, and you still had no idea what you were doing. And so, and I think that's true for any ministry, whether you went to a master's commission or Bible college or, some sort of leadership college. You get out and you have no clue, like you've got no idea. So, but yeah, I graduated in 97. That's the 1900s.
I was born a year later.
Yeah, there you go. Could have been your dad. But yeah, and I didn't know what I wanted to do, and so I was like, I did what every kid does, which I think is a terrible idea. You just start going to college, like right out of the gate. Like, I'm like, if you don't know what it is that you want to do, like, it's okay to take a year and figure it out.
Yeah.
Like, school might be it, and it might be like, hey, I here's my plan. I want to go, and here's the course that I need to take to get there. That's great. Like, go do that. But like, if you don't know and you're just like, oh, well, let me just get this stuff out of the way. Like, what stuff are you getting out of the way? Like, you don't know what it is that you're going to do, and you're going to go to school. And so, I think it's a good thing to kind of pause again and just go like, what is it that I'm trying to accomplish here? But I did. I went to Lewis and Clark and for a semester, and I was like, yeah, it's not me. Like, I'm like the kids in your classroom. It's like, but it was my attention. It was all those things. I'm like, it's for me in my path, which I still had no idea what it was. I'm like, I can't do this. And so, somehow I ended up finding my way out to Arizona. I'm sure there's a really cool story behind it, but I really don't remember, other than my mom was like, hey, what about that program you said that you might be interested in? And I was like, they had one in Rockford.
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't want to go to Rockford. Why? I have no idea. Like, there was nothing. I didn't know anybody. I didn't know anybody in Arizona. I was just like, let me just leave and go and figure some things out. And so I did. And it was really cool, man. You kind of go from small town USA into the inner city, and a lot of my friends would come from other inner city LA or Carson or even Compton or whatever, from Cali. And then kids came from all over, really. But you see life really differently, and so that was cool. And so I went there, and man, I learned a lot. But I think more than anything, it was just I grew as a person, and I grew my want and my desire to have a relationship with Jesus. And so then kind of coming out of there, 3 years, it's a 1-year program, but you can stay a few more years and kind of do some leadership stuff. In my third year, I was leading our school assemblies and scheduling those out, and we were traveling all over, from Canada to New Mexico to Texas to all over the U.S. and beyond. And so that was really, really cool. And I think that was probably where I was just like, man, I feel like I could do this, but I don't know. And so I left there after 3 years and came back to Illinois and just got plugged into a church, and they were like, we want you to be our youth pastor. I'm like, okay, let's go. And kind of just jumped into that, and I had no clue. I wasn't really much older than the kids that I was leading. Yeah. I mean, I'm like 21, 22. I'm like, you're leading teenagers, 22 years old.
Go play basketball and play.
Yeah, and it's really when I figured that out, like, I think I leaned into what I knew as a kid, because I had a youth pastor that I couldn't tell you what one message that the guy ever spoke. Like, literally couldn't tell you, like, probably much like you couldn't tell me one message that you ever heard me speak. But like, I remember all the the things that we did,
Mhm.
the relational stuff. And so that's what I started doing, is just going, hey man, let's just hang out. Let's play video games and play basketball and, build relationships.
Yeah.
And so, that was really the key to success, I think, was just to see kids where they were and know that I'm not really that much further along than them. And I mean, I think sometimes all you have to do is be a step really to lead, like one step ahead of someone else, and you can help them get to where you are. Not that I was this, amazing thing, but
Yeah.
I had already experienced what they experienced as teenagers, and now here I am, someone in my early 20s trying to do things right in my life and help them figure out who it was that they wanted to become.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. I think it's like when you're that young, being like a youth pastor, it's super, super hard. Like, cause I was kind of a youth pastor at that age. But it's like, cause you're still at 21, 21, 22 years old, like you're a tax paying citizen, but you're still a kid. Like, I'm 26 and now I'm finally being like, oh, I'm an adult now. Like then I was like, I have no flipping clue what I'm gonna do.
I'm 40. I'm 45, and I don't even feel like an adult most of the time. So I don't know if you're there at 26, man. You're way ahead of me, because I'm like, dude, I'm 45 years old, and I'm like, man, like my mind is like, I'm still, at times I'm like, I have to realize at times, like, I'm not a kid. I'm not a teenager. I'm not, a 20-year-old. Like, I remember being 15, 16 years old and thinking about like 40. And I'm like, that's so ancient. It's like, that's so old. Like, how do those people get around, with their like walkers and stuff? They're like 40. And now I'm like, I'm only 5 years away from 50. And I'm like, sheesh, man. Like, I guess it's not as old as I thought it was.
Yeah.
So
yeah, the real thing that hit me is when I turned 26. I was like, oh man, I'm closer to 50 now than I am 0. And I was like, that's
27 for me was an interesting one, because I had one of my best friends who passed away at 27 in a car accident, and it was a moment for me where I realized like I outlived. He was only 2 years older than me, but it's like that was the end of his life.
Yeah.
At 27.
Yeah.
And then I went beyond that. It's
Yeah.
like he only got to experience 27 years of his life.
Yeah.
So that was kind of weird for me, but I don't know, man. Your mind will mess you up at times, but I just it's weird because you think, are you really halfway through your life? I don't know. I could be, 3/4 way through my life. I have no idea.
Yeah.
But so there's moments there where you're like, well, geez, what can I really do? Like, can I really do something different or change, kind of my path or trajectory, but then there's other times where you're like, man, I'm only 45, I ain't dead, so there's moments where you think, gosh, what I really have left in the tank? And then there's moments where you're just like, dude, I got plenty left in the tank. So
Yeah.
it'll mess with you for sure.
Yeah, I think it's crazy that like in high school, like they try to, and it's not anybody like that. It's not anybody's necessarily fault, but kind of just like the system as a whole. It's like, hey, you got to figure out what you got to do. So by 23, you could start getting a job. And it's like, when I was 23, I had like 4 jobs, and I'm like, I just want to still be a kid.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Yeah, and what's interesting too is that as you go through life and you hit about that somewhere in between that 18 to 20 year mark of doing something, like there's this struggle for a lot of people, like, I don't want to do this anymore.
Yeah.
Like, I've been doing this. for 20 years of my life, and I don't want to do this anymore. Now, for other people, that never happens. They're just like, "Nah, this is what I do. This is cool," and they have this contentment that is, I'm envious of, because they're just like, man, I go, I do my thing, and whether it's check in, check out, and they make a great living doing it. They've got their time structured and all those things, and I'm like, that's fantastic. But I don't know. For me, it's like I hit that 20-year mark of doing something. I was like, I don't know if I want to do this anymore.
Yeah.
And so for me, I made that decision after 20 years of ministry. I was like, I'm out. I don't want to do it. I'm tired. I don't want to do this like this anymore. And so, but yeah, coming out of school, like, there's so many things you don't know. And you're not going to have figured out at 23. And if you do, man, fantastic. Like, you're ahead of the game. I love that. I love people who are driven like that, and they see it, they've got it, they've seen it, in their mind, and they're just driving towards that thing. But we're crazy if we think that that's not going to include some speed bumps along the way.
Yeah. It's almost like they try to push you into like, okay, here's your perfect case scenario.
Yeah.
And you never hear anything of like, okay, well, there also might be inflation. there also, your school you might go to might close down. There might be a pandemic.
Yeah.
Like everything's kind of like, okay, if you, for instance, one of the things that I thought about doing was becoming a lawyer. It's all like, okay, if you're a lawyer, you can make this amount of money. Also, don't tell you have to go to school for like flipping a decade.
Lots of people go to school for 8 years.
They're a doctor.
Yeah, no, but it's work though. I mean, like, you got to get it in front of you and figure out exactly. I think the key is to figure out who you want to be, and then like what it is that what you do, kind of fits in all of that. Like, because it's way more important to know who you want to be, like, because and this is the reality of the world that we are in. Like, you can make money anywhere. You really can. Like, you can make money anywhere. People go into sales. There's no ceiling in sales. Like, it's how much do you want to push and how much do you want to, like, if you're great at sales, man, like, you can literally make as much money as you want. If you just have some hustle, like, money is available. People are like, I'm struggling, and I get it, because like, it is expensive to live. Someone we were talking the other day, and they were like, talking about what people could buy, back in the 70s and 80s and 90s with the jobs that they had, and it's like, I look at, someone like my grandpa, who right now, like, in my life, like, on a yearly basis, make more than he probably ever made in one single year. But his money was worth probably 10 times more than mine is. It's like, they're like, well, how were they able to buy a farm and vehicles and pay for all these things? Like, A, their money was worth more. B, they didn't waste their money like we do. We waste our, like, our generation or society, and I'm kind of that in between, caught in between the, former generations, newer generations. 1979 is kind of a weird year, but like, we waste our money on everything. You want coffee? Sure. Here's $8. It's like,
that's why I like scooters, man. You made fun of my scooters, but it's $1 coffee.
Yeah, well,
can't be. This one was free though. I got enough spins on my little Candyland wheel.
Spin on the Candyland. Yeah, I won't. It's all preference. I won't knock scooters on here, but maybe off the record.
Let's just say I don't go to Germania because I don't live near a Germania. I live near a scooter.
It is on your way though.
It is.
You drive right past it.
Well, kind of. I could get there.
You could go Broadway.
I could go. Yeah.
Broadway, I take you right there.
Yeah.
But yeah, so no, I mean, that's why people, but people have to hustle, I mean, like, money's always available. If you want, go, you can work and do anything. I mean, like, time is the thing that's not, that you're limited to.
Yeah.
It's time. And so you got to figure out, well, how much what is my time worth, and what can I really make, out there? Like, I started doing, it's funny, like, I was looking at how expensive things were, and I'm like, man, I got some extra time. And so I started doing like the Walmart delivery, like the Spark.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I do DoorDash, and I'm in the upper echelon of dashers around here. Gold status.
You're
So,
the
dude,
gold. You are the gold dasher.
They give me some good. I'll be driving, all of a sudden it'll be like a $27, and I'm all like, one go.
Oh man, but that's so for the Walmart thing. That's like dude, it's gonna be. I mean, you pick and choose just like DoorDash, but I mean, most of them are in that $20, $25 range.
I gotta get on that.
Dude, it's you can make it easy.
You got a referral link?
Yeah, I'll send it to you. I'll send you that referral. I don't know what I get out of it.
Those are the best.
Yeah, I'll send you that referral.
$900 if they just get 4 direct deposit.
Yeah, no, you can make an easy $500 an extra a week. Like probably 2 hours a day, maybe, like an extra $500. It's not really bad. So you're just considering like, hey, I'm just going to work an extra day, a week. And so, but that's where we are. That's, car insurance and gas and everything. And so like, I respect the hustle from people. I don't care, what you do. If you're out there trying to make it and trying to, provide for your family, like, I have friends who, they're multimillionaires, and I've got friends that aren't, and they all have the same amount of hustle. Some just direct it in different areas, but man, it's you gotta push.
Money got really put in perspective to me when I took this teaching job, because I took a $20,000 pay cut to become a teacher. And when you hear that, like when I say that to some people, like, it hurts their stomach. Like, how could you ever do that? And I'm all like, in my mind, I was all like, well, I can find $20,000.
You can. I know that sounds weird, but you can.
I can find $20,000 a year doing something. And so then my wife got a job that she likes, so that helped as well. So we're about, with us both working, we're about even where we were.
Yeah.
But now, like I don't have to work a midnight shift. I absolutely love getting able to drop even though it's crazy, I love being able to drop my kids off at the daycare in the morning.
Putting those ponies in, man.
Yeah.
Gotta put that ponytail in.
That's some of the best parts of being a dad, is during that wake up to drop off to school. When my daughter says something completely outrageous, I'm like, where did you learn that from?
Yeah. You don't want to
We're letting you watch too much TV.
You don't want to miss those, man. You really don't. And it's like you can't put a price on it. And there's two thoughts to it. One is just like, hey, I'm going to just sacrifice and sacrifice and sacrifice, so that way when we get to a certain age and our kids are older, we can enjoy them and their grandkids. And if that's the path you want to take, cool. Like, I'm never going to be right, I'm not going to shit on you, like, I'm not going to do that. But like, for me, like, there is very few things that Melinda and I missed with our kids, and I don't regret it one bit. I don't. And yeah, you can go, well, I can find 20,000. It's just, most of the time you don't find it all at once. But like, that would be good. Like, oh, here's like a, sack of cash, 20 grand. But you really can, you can find an extra 20,000 a year. Some people, might think we're crazy, but you can, it's there. It's just a matter of, do you want to, get up and go get it?
Yeah.
So, but you can't put a price on, those moments, or that windshield time that you have with your kids, or being able to be at a game. And I've tried to do everything that I've ever done. I have tried to make sure that I have the flexibility to, be at those things, because I don't want to miss them. Because they're almost gone. Like, 936 weeks from the time a kid's born to the time they graduate. Like, That is not a lot of time. And so when I look at, like, I have one in college now. I have one that's a junior and one that's a freshman. So like in a matter of 4 years, they'll all be kind of at that place. And I'm like, I didn't want to miss it. I didn't want to miss any of it. So there's a lot of things we don't have because of that. I don't really care.
Yeah.
Like I don't, like it's never too late, but I don't care that we didn't, the things that we didn't have because of the things that we allowed ourselves to be present at.
Yeah.
So
yeah, the big thing from like us having kids is like it feels like and it's probably because we're in our 20s, like our social life kind of has completely maneuvered. Like people be like, oh, just bring the kids, and it's all like, you don't understand.
You don't want that.
Yeah, you don't want that.
You don't want that.
It's all like it's nice to say, and it's nice but then when we get there, you can just see the looks like, oh my, will that kid stop screaming? No,
Yeah.
He's two.
No, they don't stop. Not until they're 18.
Oh, yeah. So I had my first like legit dad ER experience. My son. So when he was a month old, we had to go to the ER, but it was like it's pretty easy because he was a baby, like he was a month old. But
just cut off a finger or something.
Yeah.
No big deal.
Yeah. So funny. I get home from work on Thursday, and my son just starts crying, which isn't irrational. Like he's 2. So
he's like you. Yeah.
I'm, I'm getting better, But I was like, "What do you want, dude? A flipping juice or something?" All of a sudden, I see blood on the ground. I'm like, oh my gosh, what's happening? And so I guess he rubbed his eye, and I thought his eye was bleeding. So I'm like investigating. Then all of a sudden he shows me his hand, and his hand is like pure red and blood. I was like, oh, apparently he grabbed a picture frame that was broken and he sliced his finger.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my goodness. Like, I'm like, oh, it's going to be okay, bud. So then I'm cleaning it and stuff. And I'm like, oh, it's pretty deep. I don't think I can bandage that up. So we go to the ER, and so we get there at 5:30. So remember, my son is 2. Like, just for anybody listening, my son is 2. So we get there at 5:30. We finally get back to the room at 7:30. And then we leave the first hospital at 9. And then they send us to children. So once again, my son.
You're like, why couldn't we just like?
You couldn't tell me that at 5:30.
Make that decision.
Yeah. Well, apparently they went in, they looked at it, and they said we're going to have to sedate him because he's once again 2, and he's not going to sit still while we put stitches on. And I'm all like, I probably won't sit still if we put stitches on. And so they're like, okay, well, you can't eat or drink anything, and we're going to send you to children's. And so I was all like, all right, it is what it is. So, but I wish somebody would have told me on Facebook or something, hey, don't go to children's ER tonight because there is literally a million people.
Oh, man.
So we get there at 10, and we don't get back to a room till 3 a.m. And my son did not sleep a lick from 5:30 to 3 a.m.
Poor guy.
We finally get him like asleep and as soon as he like falls asleep, they come in. They're like, okay, we're ready to do it. And so they're like, we're gonna have to do this, this, and this. So he's up trying to do it, and then they can't find a place to put the IV. Dude, they stuck him 4 times. Poor guy. I'm in my jiu-jitsu. Put him up. And finally they get him, and then they come in and do the stitches, and then they have to sedate him. And that was like, I was like, man. But from that like 5:30, that first hour, like he was just hanging on me. He knew he was hurt, and he's just all like I felt like we bonded so much.
Yeah.
Like now afterwards, like it kind of feels good. My wife's gonna be mad at me. It kind of feels good when he goes, "Where's Dad?"
Yeah.
Instead of "Where's Mom?"
Yeah, you saved the day, man. They ought to have like make a reservation over there, like a call ahead, like Texas Roadhouse.
Well, they
like,
knew we were
call
coming.
ahead.
They knew we were coming, so I'm all like, "Oh, they obviously got us in the system. Like, they have to." And then we got there, and it was like they did not have us in the system apparently. Yeah,
the dad role, man. It's it's not. I didn't have that, when I was growing up, and so I just made that decision that I was going to try to be the best one that I could possibly be, and be around and be available. And so when you kind of get that back, because mom is like the most often word that's used in the home, mom, and and rightfully so. I mean, because they take care of so much. I know Melinda, like, we would be lost, our home, without her. But like, when you're doing, there's other things that you're doing to, to be there, be the provider, protector, and all those things. But there's something, special whenever like you are the one that they want.
Yeah.
And then it, that transfers down the road to when they're teenagers and you're the one they want to talk to. Not that they don't want to talk to, the mom, but, it's always kind of special when there are things that are just like, they know you're going to know the answer or have an answer. And we may not know what that answer is, but there's nothing to take lightly, that's for sure. And being there, being present now will turn into conversations down the road that you're glad you had that connection with, because there's a trust there.
Yeah.
So
yeah. Do you think that your kids, I don't know how to word this question, but I'm just gonna say it how it is. But like, do you think they think more answers just because of how they seen you do youth ministry, or do you think it's just like, that's kind of a hard question to answer? But.
Yeah, no, I don't know. I don't know if that is the case or not, because they never knew me as that. Maybe Kaylin just a little bit near the end, but they never really knew me as that. And so I don't know. But they were always around. That's one thing I was grateful for, is that, especially, with your group, because they were older, they were never treated like, a burden.
Yeah.
They're always just kind of brought along and like embraced. And I'm very thankful for that, because that doesn't always happen. So they were always treated really well. And so, but they have seen me in those, those leadership positions. So, I mean, that could be, it could be just because I do know the answers to everying.
I woke up right, and I woke up.
I wake up every day of my life, and I'm correct, which is the furthest thing from the truth. But I don't know if that is the case or not. But I think more than anything, it's probably trust, versus what knowledge I might bring.
Yeah,
is that there's just a trust there in the relationship, and I think that's huge.
Yeah. So the common thing for like preachers' kids is that they're awful.
Yeah.
Where do you think, like, because your kids are very, very good kids. Sometimes it might not feel like that, but it's like, but they're not like burning down schools or anything like that. Like, where do you think a lot of pastors get it wrong to, like, where the disconnect is with the kids?
Yeah, that's a tough one, because here's the reality. At the end of the day, I cannot take credit for my kids.
Yeah.
Like, I can't. Like, I would love to. Like, I would love to go, like, oh, they're amazing. And people will argue and go, well, you guys did an amazing job. I'm like, we still don't know what the heck we're doing as parents.
Yeah.
Like, especially like anything that like Kaylin experiences, that cause like we still experience things for the first time. Just like your ER visit the other day was a first for you. Like, you will every day, maybe not every day, but the older they get, but there will still be things that you're going to experience for the very, very first time. And you're going to go, what do we do? We've never had to deal with this before. Or, like there's things like Justice and Cameron will have to help them navigate through that we didn't have to navigate through with Kaylin. And so first of all, back up to say, I appreciate that. They are great kids. But great, but certainly not perfect and without fault. But I don't think we ever really we never tried to hold them to any standard that was unrealistic of kids in general, like, but at the end of the day, like, they're going to be who they choose to be, right? They're going to either choose to be great people or not. And I've seen some amazing people over the course of my life come out of just ridiculously broken homes where parenting was not great. Parenting was not, they weren't there. They were absent, whatever. And I've seen some amazing people come out of that. And I've seen some, I don't want to say terrible people, but I've seen
people who've made poor choices.
Yes. Who have come out of amazing homes where the parents were super involved and they were there and they were, so it's like, well, how does one come from this and the other one comes from that? And then to think that one person could take credit or not, it's like, I can't. Like, they're going to make decisions on who they're going to be. I may not always like it. I may not always love it. And I know that in an instance, we've been very blessed. And I've said this several times. Anytime I get in this conversation, I'm like, I understand that in an instant, an attitude can change, a person can change, and all of those things. I just hope that we've helped them navigate through enough things that they can always find themselves, And so, like, I can't take credit for it. Melinda can't take credit for it. We won't. People might give us credit for that, but I think they've just made decisions themselves that have helped them. So as far as, like, you said, well, where pastors got to run, there are things I guarantee that people do to drive their kids one way or another. Whether they're a pastor or a teacher or a police officer or name it, fill in the blank. So I don't think you can really pinpoint it to one, particular thing. I think that a lot of it has to go back to who you are. So I made decisions on who I want to be, and my kids have seen that. And my hope is that they make decisions like, yeah, I like that person and who they become and how they treat people. I also would like to be like that. And so, yeah, I don't know if there's a magic formula to it other than you yourself have to decide who you're going to be and live that out in front of them. And then eventually they have to make decisions on who it is they want to be.
Yeah. Yeah. It's weird. It's weird that, like, that stigma gets thrown out. And, like, me balancing the old teacher to ministry line, it's like my biggest fear. Like my kids are gonna be, but I feel like at times, like, that might be why, because when you start acting within fear, then you sometimes overcompensate with, like, and then it just drives it even farther. I mean, we've seen in the media where people react out of fear, and it's completely made things worse and made things better. So, yeah, that's good info to be like, hey, you just gotta keep working on yourself and let your kids see you.
Yeah, and I think anytime you do anything out of fear, it will never be as good as anything that you do out of um, desire to be that thing or to do that thing. Like if you go like, I've got to make a bunch of money because I'm afraid that I won't have anything.
Mhm.
Okay, you make a bunch of money and do what with it? Put it in the bank or whatever. Versus you go, I want to make a bunch of money so that way I can, because I am very clear on how I want to use it to better my own life, better the life of people around me, and better the life of, I've got things that I want to accomplish with it. You will be much better at one than the other. And you will feel much better about who you are and what you're trying to do than the other. One, you're just like you're suspicious of everything. The other, you're just like, I'm not suspicious. I'm just driven, and I'm going to accomplish what it is that I'm trying to accomplish.
Yeah.
So it's like, don't operate out of fear. Operate out of like vision for what it is that you want to be.
Yeah.
Or who it is you want to be, the type of father that you want to be, or the type of, you go, well, I want my kids to be X, Y, and Z. Well, you made your decisions,
Yeah.
they're going to make theirs. And that's hard because the majority of their life, you've made their decisions for them. Eventually you have to let them make their own decisions, but I'm not going to parent out of fear of who they might become. I'm going to lead out of faith in who I believe that they can be.
Yeah. That's good. That's good stuff.
It's all right.
So a little bit of a transition. So you experienced something that a lot of people experience, but they don't ever recover from. So you have experienced the quote unquote ministry burnout
Yeah.
to the max. So kind of walk through that journey as much as you're comfortable with. Going through that journey about like what when you realize like, hey, like I'm burning on fumes here, and I have to, for the safety of the people that I'm leading and the safety for the where I'm at, I have to get out of here as smoothly as possible, even if there is as smoothly as possible.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it can be. I would say I believe, for me, this isn't everybody, but I believe everything that I felt in that moment. So it was about 20, right around that 20-year mark, probably just a little bit before it. I started feeling that. And I was, I will say this. I don't believe that as a leader, a pastor, call it whatever you want to call yourself, I always say that I don't have anything more than anybody else has going on in their life. Like I think a lot of times, like pastors will be like, "You just don't understand." Yeah, we don't understand, but you also don't understand because you have all your volunteers show up over the weekend, and then they get up on Monday morning and go to work, and then you stroll into the office about 11 o'clock because you're tired. And so
Yeah.
like I never felt that what I did carried any more stress than anybody else. Like I just didn't. I was just like, we all got problems. We all got issues. We've all got things that, that wear us down.
Yeah.
But I also couldn't deny the fact that I was worn out. That I was just like, I'm tired. I don't know exactly what I feel or why I feel it. I'm just tired. And I cannot stay on this trajectory that I'm on. And I don't know if it was just, where I was, I don't even like to call it career, but where I was kind of, in that, what I was doing, where we were as a family. I don't know. I just know that that's where I was. And fortunately for me, that I was surrounded by people who, even though they may not have liked the decisions that I was making because of not because they didn't like me or love me, but because of how it affected, them,
Yeah.
I was surrounded by people who were just like, hey, whatever you need to do, like we support that. And so like that was good. But I did learn quite a bit in kind of coming out of that. And it's really hard because like the minute you stop meeting needs for people, they don't really need you anymore.
Yeah.
They're like, because you're like, oh, I've got all these friends. And then the minute that you stop doing something for someone, like you really truly find out, like, are we really friends?
Yeah.
Or was it just connected to the need that I was meeting in your life?
Yeah.
And so that can become a lonely place. And then the other freeing thing for me, though, was like, probably a year of my life, I was like, I am like battling this decision of stepping away from what I've known for 20 years. And one of the biggest reasons I was battling is because of how it would affect other people. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, I just don't want it to, I don't want to hurt anybody. I don't want to affect. And I remember the day that we made that announcement, I had, other than like people who like I knew were close to me that I already talked to, I had one person reach out to me. It was like, hey man, I heard that. I'm really happy for you, whatever's next for your life. Obviously sad for us, but man, happy for you. Like one. Dang. And I was like, not that I was needing that.
Yeah.
But what I realized was I wasted a year of my life wondering what other people were going to do about a decision that I was going to make. Mm-hmm. And I didn't need to waste a year of my life for it. And so I made a decision then, and like, I'll never spend that much time again making a decision because I'm worried about how it's going to affect others. Mm-hmm. Because at the end of the day, they move on like that.
Yeah.
And that's okay. And they should. Like, what? Like, I'm nothing. Like, it's not that I'm this amazing thing. So like, why would I expect anything different? So it was really freeing, even though it hurt.
Yeah.
It was freeing to me because I'm like, you know what, man, I've got to figure out what it is that I'm doing in my life, and I need to make those decisions and what's best for me and my family. And I can take into consideration, but I'm not gonna make my decision based on how it's gonna make other people feel.
Yeah.
I can't.
Yeah. Yeah, I've found this out recently that a lot of people that in my life, I realize it's a very transactional relationships, like there's some buddies that we won't talk to each other in a few months, but we'll get together. It's like nothing's changed, and then there's other people that it's like we ain't hit each other in a month, and it's like, hey, like you didn't text me on and it's like, what? Like, sorry that.
Yeah, I don't have a lot of time for that. I mean, it's petty to me. That's petty. Yeah. Like if life is busy, if you can steal a minute, steal a minute.
Yeah.
And don't whine about the ones that you didn't, because if you were, then you should have picked up the phone.
Yeah.
And been like, hey, like, let's get together. I haven't seen you in a minute. Let's grab some coffee.
Yeah.
And if you can't, like, you're right. Like, if you can't do those things, it is, well, what you do for me, and it's like, I don't need that in my life,
Yeah. I have 3 people that depend on me and my decisions every day. I don't have time to have.
Right. I don't need you too, like, I just need you to be a friend, like if a friend is like, dude, I get it, man. Like, life's busy. Would I prefer to hang out more? Sure. Yeah. But I understand it, and I'm not gonna feel sorry for myself. No, nobody, Steven doesn't love me. Like, yeah, that's, they're not thinking about you. They're thinking about them.
Yeah.
So, but no, that's a pretty freeing when you get to that place. And so I learned a lot in that. And yeah, I mean, when it's the one thing you've known for such a long time, and you make that decision to go, like, I'm gonna step away from that. But it's kind of like the mafia, though. They try to bring you back in all the time,
Yeah.
and you know, and I have. I mean, I've jumped back into some things, you know, since then, but you know, really kind of on my, I don't want to say my terms because that makes it sound like I'm, you know, it's gonna be my way or no way, but yeah. But you know, usually the things that I've jumped back in on are things that I said no to
Yeah.
immediately.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Well, I feel like me and you are kind of similar because we've had these conversations where it's all like church can be done so much better. Like it could be so much more community driven. It could be so much more like actually it doesn't have to be so, like you said, mafia like. It doesn't have to be like this is our church. We can't help your church because you're a different denomination.
yeah,
It's like that. This is not what heaven's gonna be.
yeah. You know, I really like. I often wonder, like really often wonder, like if Jesus would just be like, oh man, like would he really like even come to your church? You know, and you know, because I want to. I think two words I really would love to hear would be like, "Hey, well done." You know, like you did it. You did good. And I think we jump into things with all the best intentions, but churches become so attractional.
Mhm.
It's like we have to keep doing these things to attract people. Um, and I'm gonna do. I've done all that. I've been on, you know, stages in front of hundreds and even thousands of people, and you know, I've had all of the lights and the, you know, LEDs and, you know, the $2,000 in-ear monitors, and you know, I've done all that, and I'm not saying that. I'm not even saying that I wouldn't do that again. I just, if our focus is this attractional thing, like we have to like attract people, because I'm trying to like really think through in the Bible where Jesus was like, be the go build the most attractional church that you can.
Mhm.
Because like I keep just getting stuck on the go and tell, you know, like, hey, go and make disciples, go, and you know, it's like I understand why churches do it. You know, you gotta build it. You gotta build it. You know, otherwise. But I don't know. I don't really have the answer. Like if someone's like, well, what would you do different? Like I don't really know.
Yeah.
Like I don't. Like I just know that I feel like there's just things that are missing.
Yeah.
And I don't really know what they are. And then maybe that's a cop out, and people are like, well, if you don't have an answer, you can't really talk. Like, I don't know. I just can tell you what I feel.
Yeah.
You know, it's like where I'm at now. That like I'm with this group, amazing group of people, and they're and I've been honest. I'm like, I don't know that this body will ever grow. Like, but I do know that we can impact until we can't.
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't want to spend money on carpet or a coffee bar or, you know, lights or LED wall, like, or paint. Like, now again, I'm not saying that I'm not against those things. I'm not. I've done them all. I'm just saying that if you were to say you have X amount of dollars to do something, I'm going to say, well, let's find some people to help.
Yeah.
You know, let's do some things in the community, or find people who are doing things and support them.
Yeah. I think I forgot who said it, but it was this idea that we spend billions to reach millions when we could spend millions to reach billions. And
Yeah.
and now I wish we had that of my amount of money.
Yeah, it's like that. Like
it's more like you could spend hundreds to reach thousands instead of thousands to reach 100.
Yeah, it's like the missions trip, that you go on, which I think are there. I think they're. I've been on a lot of missions trips. I've loved them every bit, but like the thousands of dollars that we raise to go on missions trips to go, send teenagers to dig a well that they've never dug a well before, or to build a house when you could have just taken that money and invested it into that community and paid people to that live there to go build that thing. And done a lot more of it.
Yeah.
But we're going to take, a group of teenagers that have never raised a hammer in their life and go, here, let's go build this roof, and you could still go and do those things, but I think you could do them differently, in a way. It's kind of that same thought of what are we spending to do what we're doing?
Yeah.
And it's like, you could be taking that money and doing some really amazing things with it.
Yeah. I put a little challenge out to my my students. So we started this. I was telling you about this before the podcast. We started this club. We're having some quote unquote. I don't like to use the term bully, but that's what that's where they approached me with. Was like, hey, we have a bullying problem. Do you think you have a solution? I said, I don't have a solution, but I have something I can try. And it's just kind of this idea of learning to, one, be kind to everybody because you don't know their story, and two, like at the age you're at right now, you have an ability to make a difference in your school, your community, and this world if you're driven that way.
Yeah.
And so I put out a challenge. I got a call from a family that they're all like, mom's like, hey, single mom, car, she's a DoorDasher, car broke down right before December, right after Thanksgiving. She's like, I'm not going to be able to buy my kids Christmas presents. And she's like, I just feel like a failure as a mom. And I'm like, okay, let me see what I can do. I said, I don't know what I can do, but I will try my best. Put it to the kids I said, hey, this is this family. They have 2 kids. So for one, we had, when I presented this to them, they're like, just don't be alarmed if nobody joins the club. And then when I presented the club, they said no one was going to join. There's 47 people, and there's only 70. So 47 out of 70
in the whole school.
Well, in the middle school. And so that was one. I was like, okay, now I know these kids want to be part of this. Now we've dropped some off on the way, but it is what it is. It's going to happen. So I'm like, hey, I said, I believe 40 people can bring $20 in.
Yeah.
If 40 people bring $20 in, we can spend $800 on this family and love on them. And so I just put that challenge out, like, hey, can everybody bring $20 in? They're like, yeah, no big deal. And so the day before the due date of hey, we're gonna have to get these presents, we had like $600, and I was getting nervous, and I'm just all like, but it's just kids. You just have to remind them. Remind them, like, hey, this is what we're doing it for. And they're like, oh, well, we just forgot to bring our money. By the end of so goal was 800, and that was like my goal.
Yeah.
So then in my mind, I'm all like that's a high goal that we're never gonna be able to reach. We raised over $1,000 to buy presents for this family.
That's what I'm talking about. That's good.
Yeah, and it was like just pure, and like kids were turning in more money than they needed to. I'm all like, I only told you how to do 20, and it's all like they're spending their own allowance money because they're all like, it's for people that actually need it. Like kids that you would never think, like, because you think of kids as like a selfish little brat who just wants their own thing. But these kids are all like, hey, there's a kid that's my age that's not going to get what I want. I can lose $100. And
this generation, man, like they will. This is one thing I love about them. I love is they will support a cause, man. Like they will get behind something, and whether they use their time or their money or even their parents' money, they're like they'll get behind behind a cause, and so they can be very cause driven, and so if you can help kind of guide those things in the right direction, like they're powerful, man. They really are. But I think too, kind of going back to your like, no one will join. They're 40 out of 70. I would probably venture to guess that they didn't show up to this group because they wanted to be in this anti-bully group. Mm-hmm. They showed up because of you. And people follow people more than they like. If I go to like a conference, there are certain people, and I know there are people there. I don't care what they're speaking on. Like, I don't care. Like, there are people that if they're at that conference and they're speaking, like, I'm going to that session because I want to be where they are. And I guarantee you, the big part of that is the same thing for you, is that people, it's a relational thing. And so, like, they'll come because of you, and then they stay when then you start throwing that vision, and they're like, oh man, we really can get behind this. And so that's the power of relationship. And I'm not saying that they didn't want to be in that thing because of that, but there's a really good chance that the majority of them were there not because they wanted to be in this group, but because they wanted to be around you.
Yeah, and that was one of the things that, like, a drawback was, like, when they saw the sign-up sheet, they're like, well, all the bullies are in the club. I'm like, where else would you want them to be?
Yeah, no, yeah, bring them. We want them here. Like, we want, you want them on the outside? Like, no, we want them in here, so that way, like, they can be a part of it. And you said a word a while ago, and it's something that I've really been thinking about lately is kindness. And like, I don't want to say I struggle with kindness, but there are times when like and this is not the Jesus in me. It is like, dude, if I don't like you, man, like, it's like hard to get me to like you, or even like I can struggle with that big time is like kindness. And I just want to be kind. Like, I want to be kind. Like, there are people that you run into, you're like, that person, man, is so kind.
And it almost makes you want to hit them.
I know, like, man, and that's like the non-kind part of me is like, why are you so nice? But like, have
you never been cut off in traffic before?
Yeah. Hey, here's one thing. This is a challenge for everything. Is like, are you? Let's go to real quick traffic. Zipper merge or no? For you?
Oh yeah, dude. You got it. I'm helping everybody.
Zipper merge. I would tell you, zipper merge is the way. Like, I can't stand, like, it's coming to an end, and someone's trying to like do what they're supposed to be doing and staying in this lane as long as possible, and then this person up here is going to just be like, nope, you can't. I'm going to cut you off. It's like, if people would just practice zipper merging, they would find themselves like a lot more kind in general. Like, their drive, you're not going to be stressed. You're just, oh, come on, merge, go ahead. It's like, you're a lot more relaxed, you're a lot more kind. And I think the world needs to practice zipper merging, but I also think like we all just need to be a little bit more kind. And I'm trying to be that way in my own life. Like, I want to be kind, and because I want, when people encounter me, they go like, man, I really enjoyed being around that guy because he was kind. And I know I don't always have that. Like, I wish I did.
Yeah. And the thing that I think I'm wanting to show these kids the most is like, you do not have to like somebody. Like, you do not have to, but the benefit of being kind to them might change, one, your outlook on that person, and also that person might be acting a way towards you because of circumstances that they cannot control outside of these four walls. And so, and that's a big thing. That's one thing I've had to learn, is like, everybody's got something they're battling. And nowadays with this generation, it's a lot more dramatic than it was for my generation. And it might be a lot more dramatic than it was for your generation. But it's like we're talking about, like, we're talking about mental health and all that. And it's good that we're talking about it, but sometimes we overdo it.
Yeah, well, I think part of it is your life. Like, I didn't have to worry about my entire life being on display 24/7 and having a 24/7 highlight reel of everything that that I wasn't invited to or involved
Yeah.
with, or like, and that's just nonstop, and they can't shut it off. And like, there's times when like, like even my own kids, I'll be like, you gotta turn that off and take a break from that, and like they'll be dealing with something at school, and I'm like, you know what, leave your phone at home. And we've had to do that. Like, you're not in trouble. I'm not grounding you. I'm just saying, for your peace, leave your phone at home today. Don't take it to school. Just leave it at home. And they'll come, and it's weird just how that quick little break can just kind of reset for them. But and again, I think it goes back to I can't be responsible for you, your actions, your decisions, but I can for mine. And same thing with the kids that you teach. Like, your kindness, like, that's where your responsibility ends. And how someone else takes that's on them. But you've got to be responsible for you and what you do and your actions. And so I think, taking that personal responsibility and just going, look, I'm going to make decisions for me. How that affects other people, like, or how they let that affect them, is really on them. But as long as I'm doing things the way that I know that I should be doing them, I can't worry about the rest.
Yeah. I say this, I think I'm probably my wife more than anybody, but I always try to tell her, like, you can control how you communicate it. You can't always control the response.
Yeah.
And that's something that I think we practice every day. Like you don't, like, if somebody asks you, let's say someone asks you to do something you don't want to do, and it's all like, you don't want to do it. Like, you can't control how they're going to respond when you say no, because once again, and especially if it's a transactional relationship like we were talking about earlier, like, let's say someone wants me to go mow their grass, but I'm all like, you know what? I don't really have time to mow your grass. Like, I have.
Is it that you don't have time, or that you don't want to?
Both.
Well, then just you don't owe anybody anything. Just tell them no. Like that. I think that's where we get caught up too. Is like, we feel like we have to justify every yes or no, or specifically every no. Because if you're like no, well, I really don't have time. Oh, that's okay. Like, you can do it. Whenever you get time. Well, now you're still doing it. Just be like, no. Yeah. Like, just let your yes be yes and your no be no. Just like, if you're gonna say no to something, just say no.
Yeah.
Like, don't feel like you have to like massage it in there, like, somehow. Just be like, nah, I'm not doing that. Like, and it's just like, rip that Band-Aid off and just be done with it. Like, no, I'm not going to. And like, just let your no's be no's, and you'll find that even that's a lot less stressful, because you're just like, I don't have to mess with trying to justify it to them. Yeah. Just say no.
I've not got there yet. I'm a big yes guy.
Just say no, man. Yeah. Just do it. Make life better for you.
Yeah. I'm always like, I try to, I don't know. I'm a people pleaser, and that's my biggest flaw is like, I want to make sure everybody is happy. And then I absolutely drive myself miserable making people happy. And I know I do it. And it's like, why do I do it? I don't know.
Just stop. Right. I mean, because you're not going to please everybody, and then you're going to disappoint people. And you're like, you might as well just at times just disappoint up front. It's not the wrong thing to do all the time. Yeah. You can't make everyone happy. And it's not your job to make everyone happy. Yeah. Heck, it's not even your job to make your kids happy. Like, they're going to be happy. It's your job to protect them, to guide them, to provide for them, to love on them, but it's not your job to make them happy 24/7. Yeah. Like, it's not your job to make their life miserable, but you just got to be like, hey, like, this is where we're heading, what we're doing. And, it's the sooner that you realize that there's times where you're just going to be a big disappointment to people, and you're okay with that. Like, I can't control that, so I'm going to disappoint you. I promise you. Yeah. I preface that all the time, whether I'm in some sort of leadership, or I took on this coaching job, and I'm like, guys, listen, I guarantee you that I will disappoint you. Like, it's just gonna happen. So I'm just prepping you now for that.
Yeah.
So
which I think I prep that, but then I try to go against what I'm saying. It's like, well, do I have to disappoint them?
Yes.
You do. But but So, and you kind of brought it up. You took on a new role in your life, which you've been coaching for a while,
long
but
time.
it's just more in the limelight now than it was when.
yeah. The big limelight. No, just throw on another hat, right? Like, just need another hat. But for me, ultimately, it's about people. I love the game. I coach high school boys soccer. I love the game, but I love people more, and so it's like it's a vehicle to be able to use to impact, to have impact, and that's what I love. And so great group, had a great first year, and people look at the record. I had someone ask me like, "Oh boy, that was rough." What was rough about it? And they're like, "Well, you only won one game." I'm like, yeah. Did you even look at the scores or what we did and the gaps that we closed and the teams that we played against, and like
it's a very hard conference.
Yeah, it's an extremely tough conference, and it's a tough area. I mean, even on our sectional, the number one team in our sectional ended up winning state, and so but it is tough, and so I don't focus on that. I focus on the process, and we were able to create a really really good culture, and a culture of personal responsibility and accountability and trust, and something we can build on. And it takes a while, for sure. And so we started working with some of the youth programs in the community, which you have to if you want to build a successful high school program.
I mean, that's where Triad gets it right. That's where Highland gets it right. Like
oh yeah, they got great youth programs, and so like you have to do that. If you're not, you're just hoping and praying that you're going to get something to come in, and you're not being proactive in it. And so, but for me, it was a great first year. Had a great group, great athletes and students and people and coaches. Like they all just made it great. And so we're looking forward to next year and continue to build and grow. And but.
So what does off season look like for you? Like, do you guys have specific trainings that you do? I've never played soccer, so I don't know how to get strong for for soccer. What do you
got to be strong. You can't be weak. You can't be a wimp. No, but a lot of our guys are in other sports, which is great too. We love multi-sport athletes, so they're doing other things right now. And then we'll have the summer workouts and stuff like that, and really start to build and grow. We didn't have a lot of time. I came on late. I came on in July, which was actually like we didn't have any of the early summer. So I came on late, but we're in the process right now of developing our off-season plan for the summertime to help these guys get ready for the fall. But we have a young group. We had a good group of seniors. We had 5 seniors, and they were a good group. They all started and played a big role. But we also had three freshmen that ended up starting most of the games, and not just starting, but playing in the midfield, which is one of the most important places on the entire field.
Yeah.
And so that was big for them to really feel that speed and that strength of. I mean, you're 14, going on 15, and you're feeling that those 17, 18-year-old, that pressure, that speed, that strength. It's different, man. That you've been there, on the football field, so you've experienced that. You experienced it even going from high school to college as a jump, and so but so it's good. A lot of positives, kind of moving forward. And, but we love it. It's simply, the things we love the most usually pay us the least, and you wish you could make a career out of it. But a lot of times it just doesn't happen that way. So you don't do it because of the money. You do it because of the passion and the impact that you can have.
And it's definitely with the whole freshman playing against seniors. Obviously, you'd like to have 25 seniors and not have to worry about playing a freshman up or a sophomore up. I feel like that's when you get to be like a really, really dominant. If you can keep numbers, that's the big thing, especially for a smaller school. Like if you can keep numbers, like is it 11 on? Soccer?
You play 11, and the thing about numbers too is it makes you like. nothing's given to you, you
Yeah.
know, like you're not gifted something because you're the only option. Like you have to earn things more,
Yeah.
you know. So and these guys earned it. I'm not saying they didn't earn it, but like I would rather not have to do that. But you know, that's just kind of where we were. But yeah, you got to be able to build, and numbers help with that. They make you have to push harder. They make you have to earn your spot. They, you know, because if you're not doing it, there's a guy right behind you that's ready to take your spot. And, and there's only so many, and so
Yeah, I wish there was like a JV varsity for 7th and like 8th grade, even 6th grade, just to learn like, hey,
yeah,
like you're not guaranteed, because the problem that I run into is with football is we get these freshmen who think they're going to play varsity.
yeah,
Like, yeah, dude, you have to realize you have to be a very, 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 very special talent, or we're going to have to like really need somebody in that position
yeah.
to even make you play JV.
It's a process. That's why in
Yeah.
coaching you just ask a ton of questions because it really reveals, you know, it's like, why do you think that? You know, like why do you think that that's where you should be? And do you really think that like you're better at that position than like, and you got to be able to have honest conversations, and which means you have to be open to them, because a lot of coaches aren't. They're like, nope, this is just what it is. And like, you have to be able to, a kid has to be able to come to you and say, hey coach, what can I do better? And if you can't have that conversation, you shouldn't be coaching. Like you really shouldn't, because your job is to help them get better. And if you can't give them the tools to get the, you know, to help them achieve the goals that they have, then you shouldn't be coaching. I don't care how good you are at X's and O's, because that's not, like, you could be, you know, at the end of the day, these guys, they're only going to be football players or soccer players for so long, but they're going to be, in this case, it's high school boys. They're going to be men way longer than they are soccer players. So if you can't help them with those things, then don't coach. Like, I don't care how good you are at the tactical aspect of the game. If you can't help them get better, you don't belong there.
Yeah. And that's and some kids may not ever get better in that specific skill, but they can get better being a just a better person,
or knowing how to, you know, or how to develop. You're teaching them how to develop, and they may not reach the goals that they have right in front of them, but you're helping them for the future, and that's really important.
Yeah, we had to have a hard conversation with a senior this year, and he's just all like, "Hey, how do I get on the field?" And we just kind of had to tell him like, "Hey, dude, like your goal, like a starting spot for you, it's not impossible, but it's very, very unlikely. You have a D1 guy in front of you, like, and he's going to play because he's good kid, good, and he works hard at what he does. So, but there's special teams, there's like other positions that you can honestly try to compete for a spot in, and if you like and it may not ever, like, you can't control the outcome of what we choose or where we choose to play you, but you can choose how you prepare and what kind of attitude you go going into it. And if it's one that's good and we see development on the field, heck yeah, you're going to get a shot. But
or you can, you know, make a decision that you're going to push the starters as hard as you possibly can, and help them, you know, help your team get better. You know, I mean, that's so valuable, and people miss that. And I get it. You want to play. That's why you want to play. I understand it. There's nothing harder than, you know, like seeing a kid that's working their butt off and not getting, you know, seeing the field. But man, like, they can be so valuable to your team at times, and if they'll just, you know, push as hard as they can, and they'll push others and make others around them better.
Yeah. So do you feel like this is like the beginning of your like, you've been coaching for a while, but do you feel like that's something that no matter what other areas happen in your life, like what you want to do is coach? Like,
yeah, I think it's where I mean, I love to be, you know, it's one of my favorite things to do. So it's like, you know, and as the kids get older and, you know, kind of move on, it's like, well, you know, like you still, you want to have impact. And so, yeah, I mean, I don't see a world where I don't try to be involved in something like that. But I don't know. I feel like for right now, I'm just focused on building a solid program that people can be proud of and kids can, you know, want to be a part of. And, you know, from there, you know, if my time there is just to build up to someone else, then great. You know, if it's to build a program and to lead it to what's next, then that's fine too. But like, I really just focus on where I'm at right now
Yeah.
and just go, I want to build as much as I possibly can right now.
Yeah. Is for soccer, it's a little different than football, at least in Jerseyville, because they don't have like middle school soccer or anything like that. Like, so it's a lot of club. Do you guys do you have the problem in Jerseyville for like people for their club teams like going and finding the best players from other places and trying to get them on that club team? Because I feel like it's very, at least for football, it's very beneficial to build up the kids in your area that you know are going to play for the high school you're going to.
it can go both ways. So in one aspect, you're building quite a few kids at the same time, and the other aspect, you might just have a kid that needs to go somewhere else to get trained because that's just where they are, and that's the best path for that kid. And I think you have to look at, you can't be about people only when it's convenient for you. Like, you have to look and go, well, what's best for that kid? If it's best for that kid not to play on one of our local youth teams, but to go play for another team because that's the level that he's at and it fits his path the best, then I think you have to, we don't own anybody.
Yeah.
Like, you can't just be like, no, you're ours. Like, you can't lead that way in leadership and coaching and like, you don't own anybody.
Yeah.
Like, you have to lead with your hands open and go like, what's best for them? And even if it even if it's not most beneficial for you, it's like, what is best for them and to help them, achieve their goals and what they're trying to accomplish.
Yeah. That's cool. So I was excited to see that you got that opportunity, man.
It's cool. So we'll see what comes of it. But at the end of the day, like, we're committed to developing people, and results will come. But like, we know that if we can help kids show up as better people, they will show up as better players.
Yeah. So something that I've always been impressed with you about is like, you've always been able to like preach, but I feel like you're like something that stirs you is being able to motivate people in general, whether it's through a sermon or just through a Facebook Live. Like, where do you think that passion comes from for you?
I don't know. It's and I think motivation is kind of tricky. I think you have to motivation is intrinsic, so I can't motivate anybody to do anything. We can inspire, but we can't motivate. Like, you are motivated by, are you hungry? Let me go eat. Do you need more money? Go work or whatever. Like, everybody's motivated by different things. So, but I think for me, it's just like, I just want people to be the best they can possibly be. If I can play a part in that, cool. Like, if there's some part that I can play in that, that's great. If not, that's okay too. Like, some people are like, I want to leave a legacy to where people remember. Like, I don't know, they're not going to remember me. They always say there's 2 times you die, right? Like, when you actually die and when people stop talking about you, it's like, or when they mention your name for the last time. But it's like, it's not about people remembering me. It's about, can I help anybody that be better? And if that will impact the world, then awesome.
Yeah.
So it's not like, I'm not driven by my name.
Gotcha. You're driven by the people that trying to inspire people for making the best.
Can you unlock something? It's kind of like a challenge, like, can you just, turn the dial on something that makes someone go, oh my gosh, like, I didn't think about that.
Yeah. So obviously you've probably seen people unlock it. Have you ever seen like a negative for trying to do that?
Oh yeah. I mean, yeah, it's like, we're crazy if we think like, you want everybody to be like, oh, that was great, but it's just not how it works.
Yeah.
And so you can have the best of intentions, and you're just gonna have that, and those are hard because you want it so bad for everybody. Like, and even in coaching, like, you're like, oh, everybody's gonna love it. Not everybody's gonna love it, and there's people are gonna be unhappy, and people are gonna be like, well, my kid didn't play, and the kids are gonna be like, I'm not playing, and like, you're always going to have that, but like, you can't let that deter you, and really, your motives, what you're trying to do, and you just gotta stay in that, because you start getting outside of that and thinking too much, like, you'll overthink things, and to go south real quick.
Yeah.
So you gotta stay confident
Yeah,
in
I think
what
it's
you're trying to do.
I think it's hard in living in like the let's read the comments.
Yeah, stay out of the comment section, man.
I had to learn that with this podcast. Like at first I was like, man, everybody loves me, man.
Yeah,
And
they do.
then I got my first negative comment. I'm all like,
What was it?
It was just like that dude sucks and he talks for too much. He talks too much, something like that.
What
Like
was it? I might have been me. I might have put that.
you Value City Joe Rogan. What do you do?
Yeah, Value City. You can't go 3 hours. Yeah. That's no, you got to stay out of the comment section. Like you can't be on that bottom tier. Like that's where the bottom tier is, just in that comments, and just we get in there and get in our heads and let it, like, I don't care. You've already made your opinion about me. Like, although I mean, to say that I don't hang out in comment sections is also a lie. Like, not like I'm like, oh, I'm above that. Heck no. Like, I love being in there at times where you're just like, let me just read through here and see, but like, I don't get caught up in that. And I used to be, because I used to be a lot more vocal and out there, and content wise and all that. But I don't know, like, I just don't do that much anymore. But even when I did, it was like, you can't get caught up in the like button and all that. You gotta learn how to use the block button and the unfollow, and that'll save your life too.
And not getting caught up in like likes and views. I feel like that's the hardest thing, especially when you feel so driven by what you say.
Right, like you love your stuff. Oh man, this is so good. Like, I think pastors do that a lot too. Like, not the likes and views, but like, I think they speak too long. Like, this is like right now, it's probably the longest I've talked in a long time, because like my typical message on a Sunday morning is like between 15 to 20 minutes long. Yeah, I don't speak, and some I talk to guys who be like, I've just got so much. And I'm like, if you can't say what it is that you have to say in 20 minutes or less, you either have way too much content or you're talking in circles. Like, that's bottom line. It's like, you are so like, it's so good. It's like, you think it's good.
Yeah.
You want to hear yourself. Like, give some meat, let them apply it and move on. It's so, you got to stay out of that. You're just talking to hear yourself talk. Like, just stop talking.
Yeah, that's something that I struggled with as a young communicator of the word. Is I'm all like, I'll be talking, and then all of a sudden some flipping kid will get on his phone in the back, and I'm all like, you don't love what I'm saying right now? And it's all like, no, bro, it's been an hour and a half. You need to shut up.
Yeah, you can stop. You need to stop.
So it's like, same thing in class. Like you have so much information that you feel like you need to say, and then all of a sudden a kid will play something funny on his Chromebook, and then the whole class laugh, and you're all like, you guys just aren't
wasting my life.
You guys aren't drawn to science. Like,
no, but they are drawn to you.
Yeah.
And that's the thing, is I remember like the best teacher, man. I remember the best teacher that I ever had. His name was Jeff Getton, and he was the ag teacher in Jerseyville. And this guy, like, it got to the point where like I didn't care what he taught. I was going to take that class.
Yeah.
Because like, dude, like, I remember during lunch, he'd play hacky sack with us, or we'd shoot basketball. Like, he was just there. He's just present, Yeah, he was a good teacher.
Yeah.
Like, he was a good teacher. But he was an even better person. And I think that's the key to helping kids learn, is like, you got like a lot of things like that, being a teacher, being a youth pastor, even sometimes, even being a police officer. I've talked to people at times, like, well, you started out like wanting to help the world, and then you end up just doing your job. It's like, don't ever stop. Like, don't ever get to the point where you just do your job.
Yeah.
Like you get to that point, like, maybe look for something else, because like they're believe it or not, like, they are listening. They're there. They're paying attention, and they're paying attention to you.
Yeah.
Not to the science that you're teaching or whatever else you're teaching. Although that might be intriguing to some of them, like, they are drawn to you. And so like, who you are matters. It matters to them, and who you help them become. And you can help unlock those things in them, or how they learn, because of who you are. And so like, yeah, they might check out and look at something funny. It doesn't mean like, I'm a terrible teacher. No, like, like just be better at how you present things, you know, or make it more interesting, or you know, manage the time a little differently to where, you know, like I've got this window of about 15 minutes where I know that they're going to be captive audience, and then outside of that, like if they hear me, they hear me. You know, it's like.
Yeah, there was one day where I was going through something and everybody was just tuned out, and I was just all like, you know what, guys, like I apologize, and it was like they were all thrown back because they're like, why is he apologizing for us misbehaving? And I go, I didn't teach you guys this good enough. Like I've overstepped my thing. We're done with science for the day. And I just sat down at my desk and
I'm sorry I failed you, you know. And
so, but they all came up to me and they're all like, why don't you just yell at us and get us to listen to you? And I'm all like,
that's what everybody does.
I'm like,
yeah, because that is when we look at like that's the lowest level of leadership. And whenever you are like you do what I say because of my position. You know, it's positional leadership. It's the lowest level. You know, relational will get you so much further.
Yeah, I agree. I made a little top 5 thing that I learned from my first semester of teaching, and I don't think one of them had to do with the X's and O's of how do you teach this scientific theory, or how do you clearly teach Newton's laws. No, it's
it never will, man.
it was all relational. Like it was all like, I feel like what I'm doing right now is 100% like, because I would never be a science teacher unless the science position opened, and that's what happened. like
y'all got a PE position open over there.
That's my joke. Is all like, they're like, why are you teaching science? I said, well, PE was taken.
Yeah.
So,
I would do PE and lunch monitor. Let me do this.
But it's so I'm literally like 100% like I'm learning while I'm teaching. So the best thing that I can do is just build relationships, and I'm new. Like it's
give yourself some grace, man.
Yeah, it's 100, like it's very, very hard to, like, I don't know how professors do it ever. Like they just teach 200 kids and not have a relationship with hardly any of those kids. Like I like where I'm at right now, where I do have about 70 kids that I see throughout the day, but I know every single one of their names, and I know a little bit about every single one of their stories. And so,
well, part of what you're doing though is preparing them for that moment, because that, you know, that is more transactional for them. It's just like, hey, like we are going here to learn this from this profession that I am paying money to come here to learn this from you. I don't need your relationship. Like I need you to teach me this. Yeah, and that's okay. You know, but you know, you were part of in the foundational part for a lot of these kids. You know, it's where down the road, like they don't like. They've already made the decision on who they're going to be and what they're going to do, and you know the things that they're going to learn. Now it is transactional. They're going, I'm paying you for something. I need that. Like I don't need you to be my buddy. I don't need you to be like I need you to be my professor, and that's okay. You know, and so you know, like I think, you know, give yourself grace now. As you know, as a new teacher, still as a young father, you know, husband, all those things. Like just give yourself. You know, we just got to give ourselves grace, man. Like. It's okay. We're embrace the process and the imperfections, and like, you know, we're not going to be perfect. We're going to miss it all the time. Yeah. But like, I think as long as we keep striving, you know, to be better, like we can help those around us be better too, and you know, hopefully be effective at what we do.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's my biggest thing is like I don't want to be ineffective in the way that I prepare them for the next step in their journey. You know what I mean? Like their step is me before they get to high school. Yeah. And if I don't prepare them good enough now, whether that's study habits, organizational skills, stuff that I needed when I was a kid and didn't do. Yeah. Like if I don't do that now and then set them up for failure, like then I haven't done my job right. Like they're going to forget everything that I teach as soon as I move on to the next chapter.
There's a good chance.
Yeah. But if I could teach them how to take notes, if I could teach them how to do something to prepare them for when they take that next step into either high school or college, and they're like, hey, I remember like Mr. Rulo showed me how to take notes a certain way so I can organize my thoughts and I can find them clearly. So
be like Feeney, man. Yeah. Be like Feeney. You be that Mr. Feeney. it's important. It's critical. It's all critical, and just being another great voice in their life, but also like teaching them along the way.
Yeah.
Because you're not just there to, have a relationship with them,
Yeah.
or like you are there to teach as well. And so you got to find that balance between the two. Yeah, you got it.
Yeah, we're learning every day. Sometimes through panic attacks, but we're learning every
Panic attacks, YouTube, whatever. Just keep learning.
Yeah. Today's a YouTube day because
Bill Nye.
Sometimes when I show a video, I'm all like, "Hey, this is something we're learning now. This guy's gonna say it way more clearly than I ever can. Like he's gonna be able to." I think it's okay too as a teacher to be like, "Hey, well, one, I try to touch every kind of way that a person can learn,
Yeah.
whether that's hands-on, whether that's visually, whether that's typing it out, whatever it is, whatever the whole, however kids learn nowadays."
Yeah.
But I also try to like keep it within, because I have ADHD and I know how
Yeah, you know
ADHD. So
Yeah.
I'm all like,
What I think too, the other thing is like well, we're gonna have a lesson on TikTok today. It's like you gotta see them where they are, and leaders are learners, not necessarily readers. It's like you just learn. How you learn is different than how I might learn, and tapping into all of that, I think is critical.
Yeah. And this next semester, I'm pretty excited because I have some ideas for like not just learning science, but also like getting to know your classmates, whether that's through group projects, even though people get terrified of group projects, but like, I don't know, even if it's like something like, "Hey, I want you to make a podcast on this recent science thing that we're talking about." And you guys just sit together and you talk out the chapter.
Yeah,
And
just
like,
talking out, hit record and go.
Yeah. And so stuff like that, like that's some stuff that I have, like make a video, whether it's of you guys acting out a science, science law, or
Just give me a video of your exploding volcano. What does a giant Minto do today?
But yeah, man. Well, I'm so happy you dropped by.
Yeah,
This has been fun.
On my way to St. Louis and to go shop. So
There you
got to finish up the shopping.
Heck yeah, dude.
But I'm glad it's
some retail therapy, as they call it.
Yeah, it's therapeutic, all right. Massage the money right out of my hand. But no, that's good, man. I'm glad to come by. Love what you're doing, and just keep throwing it out there. Even if you have a listener, or 2 or 100, it doesn't matter. Like, you just keep doing you, and just stay curious, man. Like, that's just I love it. I think we don't do that enough. We don't wonder about other things and enough, where we just kind of stay in our own lane, in our own world, we miss out on a lot of really cool things and really cool people by doing that. So.
Yeah, and that's always where I want to be. Is like I think there's a Hillsong song about it, but I never want to lose my wonder.
Yeah.
Like I want to, like, whether it's about God, whether it's about people, like I always don't want to know more than, like, because even if you learn it, you could still think like, okay, what about it deeper? Like,
and I think there's a country song that says that too. Yeah, you don't.
I wonder where my girl went. I wonder why my dog died.
No.
The country's good. The country's good. I don't hate the country. Just lost 10 followers.
All 10 of them.
All 10 of them.
They were all from Jerseyville anyways. So you lost all 10 of them. He hates country. He hates George Strait. No, man. No, I appreciate it, man, and we'll do it again sometime. And just if we'd have hit record probably 30 minutes earlier, it would have been a laugh fest for everyone that would listen. But some things got to stay off air.
Some things will continue to stay off air.
Yes, absolutely.
But I appreciate you coming by and stopping by. Thank you, everybody, for listening.